Hi, everybody. Welcome to Resilient Now podcast. We are here because we're trying to help people who need a little bit of motivation, or they just had setbacks, or just they're sad, or just going through something that's really hard in life. And my goal is to bring you a speaker that has gone through whatever it is that you're going through. You just need to be inspired. That person has been gone through that problem. That's my job, to find you a speaker. So if you go to www.resilientnowpodcast.com, you will find many speakers. You could also listen to the Apple show, the YouTube show, or you can listen to me on Spotify, the different speakers under Resilient Now podcast. Also, the website has some nice resources on how to get through your day. It also has some referrals for some like free programs. So there's all sorts of things on the website. So please join it. It's also in Spanish. So I'm really happy. I am here with David Solano, and he has an amazing resilient story we're going to hear soon. But first, I want to ask him, what does resilient now mean to you? And welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me here. Resilient now is so tough. I never really think about myself as being resilient. I always view myself as just finding a way to overcome something. And I always sometimes say to myself, why is it another battle? What am I facing now? What am I doing now? And I know I'm going to find a way. I feel my life has been like a puzzle, and I need to find the right piece to fit it. And sometimes I can go knock on a bunch of doors and get told no, but sometimes I find that door that says yes, and when I get in that room, I have to be great. I have to be myself. I have to be dominant. So sometimes being resilient is it's tough. It's gonna make you angry inside. You be like, why me? But then you gotta say, okay, but I can do this. I can take a deep breath, look at all my options, and be like, I'm gonna go this route right now. And if that route's not the right route, then I turn another way and let me try this route. And I just keep finding different routes, and in the end, I find my success. So that's kind of resilient now is to me, finding my success in my own way.
Thank you, David. That is very helpful. That breaks it down a lot for people. I'm just excited to hear your story. So let's get going. You are on. Let's hear a resilient story.
All right. So sometimes with resilience, I always looked at my life as sometimes overcoming an obstacle doesn't take a day. Sometimes it doesn't even take one decision. Sometimes it happens over a long period of time. I was born with a disability called arthrogryposis, and it affects my joints. But yet, when I was a kid, my mom and dad took me through multiple therapies to help me become very agile with my arthrogryposis. And I was very athletic at one time. But yet, when I was in public school, I wasn't really allowed to participate in PE. The doctors didn't understand if I was going to get hurt in PE, and the schools didn't want to deal with it. And PE teachers just didn't want me around, quite frankly. And at that time, I know we can say, well, that's not allowed, but this was the 1980s before the IDEA laws were enacted. So it truly was allowed. In 1988, when I was a freshman in high school, I was so ready to play in PE, and the PE teacher said, "Nope, sorry, David, you cannot participate in my class." Now I was mad, and I wanted to kick down doors. My mom and dad wanted to kick down doors, but they said it's okay, David, it's all right. We're gonna figure out something. We're gonna figure something out. About 8 years later, I graduated and I went to college, became a teacher. And my first year in class, I was teaching these boys, and they were all struggling with behavior. And I was like,
Mhm.
why are you guys all mad at each other? And they're like, well, his team beat my team at basketball last night. I'm like, why aren't you guys on the same team? You go to the same school. And they were like, that's not the way they do it. And then I said, well, you know what? Maybe this summer I'll coach you guys. And I didn't know that that would become a reality. I went to the rec center and I signed up. The rec center knew me and they were like, oh, David, you're going to volunteer coach? We're excited to have you here. And I was like, I was nervous at first. I was like, what if they tell me I can't do it because of my disability? But they were excited that I was a teacher. They were excited that I was gonna come back and give back to the youth in my community. And little by little, I didn't know what I was doing because I never participated in sports of any kind. I just knew that I loved basketball and I watched it all the time with my dad. So I had to figure this out. And little by little in the beginning, we were not very good. I like to sit here and tell you, oh yeah, we won every game. No, we probably drank the most juice boxes, but we didn't win the most games. But little by little, I started to figure it out because I started to invest my time into it. And then I started to have a daughter on the way, and I said, I better make this side gig into making some money. And all my players were becoming high school all stars or really solid high school players. So I was like, oh, I can get a job coaching. It'll be easy. And it was all back to elementary school again. I got told no everywhere I went. I went to 12 schools that I figured, oh, I'm gonna get one of these jobs easily. Over the phone, they were like, "Yes, David, come on down, come on down. We'll hire you tomorrow. Probably just let's just get the interview over with. Over the phone interview's good." I show up in person, they were like, "Oh, you're David Solano," and I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, we hired somebody yesterday. Oh, we hired somebody this morning." And I was like, "What? You told me to come here today." Oh no, I'm sorry. We're sorry. And inside of my head, I wanted to holler at them. I wanted to scream at them. I wanted to kick the ball when I walked out of the gym. But I
Mhm.
understand the bigger picture. If I do that, I can't. I'm going to be a complainer. I'm going to be a whiner, and I'm going to fit every bad thing that they think about disabled people. So I
Right.
can't do that, and I had to be calm about it. And I was going to my 13th interview, and I told my wife, I'm going to be a jerk in this interview because I'm tired of being nice and friendly in all these interviews. And my wife said, "Go ahead." And I said, "I'm going to be a jerk. I go, if I don't get it, I might stop doing this." And my wife said, "No, you won't stop, but go be a jerk in the interview." So I'm in this 13th interview, and I told the people, I saw it going the same as all the other interviews. And I said, "You know what, guys?" I said, "If you hire me, I'm winning you a state championship." And the two athletic directors, they looked at each other, they started laughing at each other. And I was like, "What's so funny?" And they're like, "You're serious?" And I said, "If you hire me today, I'm winning you a state championship this year." And they said, "You're hired." And I was like, "Oh, shoot. Wait, are you serious?" And they're like, "You're hired. Our school's never won a state championship." And I was like, "Oh, all right, we're gonna win one this year." And I went home. Now this was before cell phones were around. It was like early, or I didn't have it was like early 2000s. I didn't have a cell phone yet. And I was like, I
Okay.
gotta get home and tell my wife. I gotta drive home. I gotta go home and be excited about this. I was ready for this. And I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't know I had to try to win a state championship. My goal was to be a coach. I was talking dumb out of my head. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. Well, that first year, we didn't win one game. We didn't win two games. We actually went undefeated, and we
Oh
went to
my
the
God.
championship. And we went to the championship game that year. And I remember it. It was on the anniversary of my mom's passing away, and the one
Sorry.
year anniversary. And I looked, and I remember thinking to myself, I think we can win this game. I really do. And as the game went into the final seconds, we ended up getting a 1 point lead with about like 5 seconds to go in the game. And I was like, we're gonna do this. And at the end of the game, we're shaking hands and with the people that ran the playoffs and everything. And the literature said, "Hey, coach, we thought you were joking when you said you were gonna win this thing." And I said, "No, man." I said, "I kind of was, but
Okay.
I dream big." And my mom always told me when I was a kid growing up, she always said, "David, doors are going to be shut on you all the time in your life. It's your job to get in the door. But when you get in that door, don't be content with getting in. Show that you're the best." And I
Wow.
heard my mom sing that in my ear that night. Show that you're the best. And there I was holding the championship trophy. Yes, I wasn't allowed in PE in elementary school. Yes, I wasn't allowed in high school PE. But here I was, a coach for the school team that won their first ever state championship. It's
Wow,
super
David,
wild.
that's amazing. Amazing. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah, it
awesome.
was a marathon. It was a marathon. I could have argued and cried when I was 5, not in PE, but we kept working. I kept working on everything, and eventually, now I'm a coach. And actually, this year I'm in the last year of my coaching at the school, so I'm telling the school goodbye this year. That'll be my 25th year coaching there, and
Wow, what a
I'm about
legacy
to
you
say
have.
goodbye.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So tell me what your handicap is. Like, so the person who doesn't know what that is, what you have, what is it? And how have you overcome all that with all your success and all the things you've done?
It's so it's I'll tell I get a little tongue tied on that one. I get a little confused. I don't truly know much about it, and here's why. My parents told me there were three things I needed to know. One of
Okay.
them was it doesn't get worse with age. The second one is it won't shorten my life expectancy, and
Mhm.
the third one is I control my own story. I control how far I get. And so my mom and I never really looked it up. I did look it up about 5 or 6 years ago, and I felt really bad because my mom wasn't around, and I was like, I should look it up. And I googled it for the first time, and I felt really weird looking it up. And I guess so. What it is your joints are stiffer. So if you can see my hands here, my hands are
Okay.
stiffer and they're not fully built.
Okay.
But we did therapies upon therapies upon therapies as a kid to make them as strong as they could possibly be.
Mm.
And so now I can do everything that anybody else can do. And so it took a while. It was a marathon in itself in that way. And like I didn't share this story, but in 1980, I wasn't even allowed into public school.
Wow.
Yet in 1998, I was given the keys because I was a classroom teacher. So
Wow.
when I tell people, when I see people saying I want to fight to be at the table, I don't want to fight for a seat at the table. I want to fight for the seat at the head of the table. And my mom taught me to fight for that seat at the head of the table, and I wasn't allowed in the classroom. And now I'm at the head of the classroom, finishing my 27th year teaching.
That's amazing. So you have a company called Hoops. Tell us about that.
I have my own nonprofit called Solano's No Limit Hoops.
Okay.
And what I do is I open up a gym in a very tough neighborhood in West Phoenix called Maryville, where
Okay.
kids struggle behaving, kids struggle graduating high school, and
Mhm.
kids just struggle being good. And I open this gym so they have somewhere to go. Because a lot of times we blame our youth on destroying the neighborhoods and destroying the stores and the malls and being rude in the neighborhoods. And I'm like, well, where are they going to go? There's nowhere for them to go.
With
And
all
so
that
I said,
energy.
I'm going to open a gym for them. So 2 nights a week, I know where they're going to be at. And 2 nights a week, I know that I can instill some pride in them to help them understand that they can be different. And I tell you, like, it's not a basketball team, it's a basketball community. On some nights, we get 85 kids in there from different neighborhoods, different schools, and there's no fighting. There's just camaraderie and happiness. And that's our goal. I tell the kids, you come in here, you got to be happy and friendly. If you're not happy and friendly, then go home. And they come in, they understand that. And it's the only place in the world where a lot of tough, angry kids will come and listen to a disabled man talk about life and have a
Mm.
great time with them playing basketball.
My God, you are a superhero. I got to interview a superhero today. I'm so excited. This is like, oh my God, thank you for reaching out to me. This is an amazing story. So we have to wrap up, but I always like to ask, what is your top gratitude? What are you most grateful for in your life? Because gratitude can trump, like sadness or resentment. Like if you live in gratitude and happiness and what you're grateful for, it can help so many things that you're going through. So what's your top gratitude?
That's tough. I'm gonna say one that would be shocking for a lot of people. I'm thankful that I was born with my disability,
There you go.
because
There
if
you
I
go.
wasn't born with my disability, I wouldn't have probably created the story that I created. And
Wow.
so I like the story that I'm creating right now. I think it's gonna help kids in my neighborhood become better fathers, which in our Hispanic neighborhood we need.
Yeah.
And so I want them to be better fathers and better dads and better parents and better people. And I think with them watching me overcome my disability and seeing me in the gym with them, it gives them that hope. And I've seen that because a lot of the first kids that I've taught are now volunteer coaches for their kids. And that means you put an impact and I put an impact in their brain somewhere.
That's amazing. Oh my God, you are really a superhero. It was an honor, David, to interview you. To everybody else, if you need to reach out to any of the speakers, please email me at, now I forgot, but it's on my website. You can find it. So on Resilient Now podcast at gmail.com. There, I remembered. I had a senior moment there for a second. I'm so happy you're here, and please listen to a lot of speakers. Please tell people about this. It's a resource for everybody, and we want you to stay resilient now and make it a great day. And bye, David. Thank you, Mr.
But you're
Super.
welcome.
There.
Have a good
Bye.
one.